Hello students, welcome to today's session. In this video I am going to discuss about function overloading or method overloading. You know that when we create a function inside a class, each function should have a unique name, isn't it? So for example, I have created a show function here, okay, which simply prints some message, okay. Then I create another function using the same name, that is show. So if I do this, you can see that the compiler is showing me an error, okay. The error is method show is already defined in the class function overloading, okay. So when you have more than one function with the same name, the compiler shows an error, but there is a way in which you can have the same name for multiple functions, provided that you follow three rules, okay. So before we see the rules, first of all let us see the definition of function overloading, okay. So when you have multiple functions with the same name in the same class, okay, the function is said to be overloaded. And function overloading is also an example of polymorphism, okay. Polymorphism means when an object can behave differently according to the message it receives. So in case of function overloading, the same function, okay, function with the same name can behave differently depending upon the parameter it receives. So this is an example of polymorphism. So now let's talk about the rules that should be followed while overloading functions. Students, note that in function overloading, only the function name along with the parameters, which is known as function signature, okay. So the function signature comprises of the function name along with the parameters. So the function signature should be different for the functions with the same name, okay. Now the difference can occur in three ways. First, you can have different number of parameters. Second, you can have different type of parameters, and third, you can have different sequence of parameters. So let's understand each of these points with the help of Java code. So first let's talk about number of parameters, okay. Now this show function, I am going to modify the show functions here, okay, by declaring one variable of int type inside the first show function, okay. Then in the second show function, I am going to declare two variables of integer types. So now you can see that if I compile this, we don't have any errors. The class is successfully compiled. So this has been possible because the number of parameters in both the functions are different. In the first function we have one parameter, in the second function we have two parameters. Now let's create one main function and call both the functions. First I will be calling the first show function. I am passing a single integer value. So you can see here I am passing a single integer value. That means if we look at both the function definitions of show, single, we can see that only the first function is capable of taking a single integer argument. So the first one, this function is a perfect match for our function call here. Okay. So when this line is executed, it is this function which is going to execute and not this one. Okay. Okay, so let's compile our program and execute it. I am creating the object. Now using the object, I am calling the main function. So you can see that the output that is coming is 2. Okay. So the value of num1 is 2, because that value is what was passed to num1. Okay. So if I pass two integer values now, okay, second case, notice that I am passing two integer values. That means compiler will check this function and it will see that it is not matching with this one. Okay. But when it checks with the second one, it can see that there is a match. There is a match with the function call statement. Okay. Both the actual parameters and the formal parameters are matching in the number as well as the type. So in this show function, I am simply going to print num1 into num2. So that should hopefully give me the value 8. So let's compile it and let's look at the output. I am creating the object, then using the object I am calling the main function, and the main function will call the show function. So as you can see in my terminal window, the output is 8. So when I executed the main function, the control went to the show function here. Because of this statement, control came inside and it printed num1 into num2, that is 2 into 4 is 8. Okay. So we have seen how the functions can be overloaded using different number of parameters. Let's discuss the second case, which is this one, by having different type of parameters. Okay, so let's change the parameters of both the show functions again. In the first function, I will make let's choose some different data type. Why shall we be so conscious about using the data types? Okay, let's use a double here, and in the other function, in the other show function, let's use float. So this time in the main function, first I am going to call the show function with double parameter. So, notice the parameter I am going to pass is 4.5d. 4.5d, it is a double value. Then we need to modify the code inside of this show function. Okay. So, I have made a function call here. The value that is passed is a double value, therefore, the match that is going to happen is with this function and not this function, okay? Because the parameter here is float, whereas the parameter here is a double. So, this is our perfect match with the actual parameters, therefore, this is the function which is going to be called. So, the output will be in first show and 4.5. Let us compile and look at the output. I am calling the main function. So, as you can see, the output is in first show 4.5. Okay. So, this is the statement that is executed. Now, in the next statement, I am going to call the show function again, but this time I will be passing a float value. Let us choose any float value, let us say 9.456 f. Okay. So, this value is a float value. Let us recompile and call the main function again. So, you can see that this time the output is in second show 9.456. Okay. So, we have seen number of parameters, we have seen different type of parameters. Finally, let us talk about different sequence of parameters. How by making different sequence of the parameters in the function prototype, we can overload the functions. So, for example, I will declare two variables here, double num1 and character ch. Okay. In the second show function, I am going to write char ch, then double num2. So, in the main function, I am first of all going to call the show function with a double and the character. Okay. So, let us give a double value here 7.8d I am choosing 7.8d and a character value. Let us choose which character can we choose. Okay, dollar fine. So, notice that the parameters, the actual parameters here are 7.8d and character. That means first we have got a double and then we have got a character. So, this particular sequence of parameters is matching with this function and not with this one. So, this is the function which is going to be called. So, let us compile and see the output. The output should show us in first show. So, let us just check it. So, as you can see, the output is in first show, okay, and not in second show. So, this proves that this is the function which was called by this statement. Now, let me write one more statement, another function called statement show function, and this time first I will pass a character and this time we can pass the percentage symbol, okay, and then I will pass a double value. Oh, let us choose 7.89d. Okay. So, this time the output should be first, because of this we will see in first show, and because of this we will see in second show. Okay. So, that should be the output. Let us compile and see the output. I am calling the main function using the object. So, as you can see, first in first show is printed and then in second show is printed, and that is what is expected. Okay. So, the actual parameter in the second function call statement matches with this prototype and not with this one. So, this is the function which is called when this statement is executed, line number 16. When line number 16 is executed, the function which is called is this show function and not this one. So, in this example you saw that the sequence have been changed. Okay. Here we had a double and a character, but here we have just the opposite sequence, a character and a double. Okay. So, that is what is meant by different sequence of parameters. Okay. So, students, you have seen how the functions can be overloaded by using number of parameters, by using different number of parameters, or you can use different type of parameters, or you can use different sequence of parameters. So, students, I hope you have understood what is function overloading. So, we will stop here. Thank you.